Here's Golf to Go with Frank LaRosa.
Jim Tunney is a former distinguished educator. He's had a 40-year career in officiating football and basketball, and for 31 of those years, he was the face of NFL officiating. He worked a record 29 postseason games, including 3 Super Bowls, 10 NFC, AFC championship games, 5 Pro Bowls, and 25 Monday Night Football games when Monday Night Football game was the game of the week. He officiated some of the most memorable games in NFL history, including the Fog Bowl, the Ice Bowl, and the Catch, which is really exciting to folks here in California. He's been nominated to the Pro Football Hall of Fame 15 times, and Jim is the only one to have officiated consecutive Super Bowls, and that's a record that's probably going to stand. Jim Tunney's a friend, and he's one of the people who play the game. Welcome, Jim.
Frank, good to see you. Always a pleasure to talk with you.
You know, you were nicknamed the Dean of NFL referees because you were the man, and that, you know, was that a mantle you took with pride, or was that a little pressure there?
It's an interesting story because I was living in Newport Beach at the time, and a guy from the LA Times, you might remember the name Bob Oates.
Uh-huh.
Bob Oates, was a great sports writer, and I'd worked assigned now the second Super Bowl in a row. Super Bowl 11 I did in Pasadena in 77, and now 78 I got the assignment for 2 Super Bowls in a row. No referees or officials have, but the position referee hasn't. And Bob Oates called me. He said, I want to do a story on you. And I said, you got to call Art McNally because he's the boss. So he called Art. Art said, you can do the story, but you can't put it out until after the Super Bowl has been played. He said, I don't want you to do that. So Bob Oates gave it the title, Dean of NFL Referees. Working back to back was unheard of in those days. We have a few people downfield do it now. No referees ever had it, but downfield, back judge, side judge have had 3 or 4 some of those times. Yep.
What an incredible notion that so many eyes were on those games. I mean, that when the Super Bowl came around, obviously in the beginning, people kind of yawned, but boy, it's must see television at this point, and certainly in those games that you refereed as well.
It gets him pretty heavy. You don't think about that. You walk on the field and you wait for the first snap of the ball and kick off and all that. And you work in a game. It's the same game you work in the Little League on Saturday. So you don't think about anybody in the stands. I never heard anybody boo. I'm sure they did. Lots of movies those years. But you don't think about that. You just think about what you have to do during the game. My job as a referee was to watch the snap from the center to the quarterback. The quarterback dropped back. I dropped back with him. I'm watching holding on the line of scrimmage for people coming at the quarterback. I'm watching the quarterback throwing the ball away or intentional grounding or things like that. And you just concentrate on the keys that you have. You don't think about the magnitude of the game.
Sure. You had a quite a signature trademark for letting people know there was a touchdown.
I don't know how that developed. I know people have talked about that before, but I would raise my hands up and didn't signal by extending my fingers as if it was good that way. I don't know where that came from. I don't think I might have invented it, but I don't remember doing it intentionally. But it just seemed to me that was the thing. The kick was good, and I signaled good, and that was it.
Tell me a little bit about your 40 years as an educator. That had to give you a lot of pride as well.
My dad was a teacher and a coach and a referee, by the way, officiated college football and college basketball. When I was about 12, Frank, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a coach. My dad was a coach. My dad coached Kenny Washington at Lincoln High School.
Oh, wow.
Before Kenny went to UCLA and into the pros. But I like coaching, so I watched for all those years, junior high school, college. I studied teachers. I liked what some do. I didn't like what others did. I said, yeah, I can use that. No, I won't use that. And I thought, I want to be a coach. And so I spent all those years studying. I went to Occidental College for that reason, to be a teacher and a coach. Never thinking about being a referee. My dad was, as I say. Mm-hmm. I went to games with him when I was 5 or 6, things like that. In fact, when I was about 9, I met Jackie Robinson.
Oh, wow.
He was playing for Pasadena Junior College. I remember, as if it were yesterday, Dad came over at halftime and said, "Hey, you watch this kid here. He's really going to be something." He was pointing to Jackie, who was sitting next to me on the bench. I was sitting on the bench at the time, so
Wow.
beating Jackie Robinson like that, and having my dad coach Kenny Washington, I was blessed. So I didn't think about being a referee. I never thought about being a coach. That was it. But in college, they had intramurals, I should say, and I thought, well, I could referee some of those games. They were free at the time. And then I began joining the Southern California Football and Basketball Association after I graduated from Occidental. And that was fine. I enjoyed that. High school games. Frank, I was working game Thursday night, Friday afternoon, Friday night at $12.50 a game. I made $37.50 on a weekend. I thought, it's like finding money on the street.
Big money.
It's terrific. Over and above I wasn't getting paid for coaching my first year. There was a big problem in the LA City school system at that time about coaches. I did my second year. I got $300 for coaching basketball, and a little more for coaching baseball. But it was a lifestyle for me. I worked during the day in the school building. In the afternoon and evenings, I was working basketball or football, and it was just it's around the clock. And when I joined the NFL, it became 7 days a week. So I really loved it.
Well, so how did you actually get to the NFL? What was who was the one that brought you along, or how'd that all happen?
I moved along from high school into the Pac-12, was called Pacific Coast Conference then.
Mhm.
Now it's Pac-12, but I moved up the ranks, and I was working college football. In 1959, I worked 2 intersectional games. UCLA and Texas was one of them, I think, and USC and somebody else. And they saw me, and in 1960, the NFL had joined, Dallas was coming in, 61 Minnesota was coming in, so they needed officials. There were 9 of us hired from around the country in 1960. I never even applied. They saw me, they called me, and they said, in fact, they called me after the AFL called me. The AFL was starting, as you know, in 1960. They had no officials. And they called me and said, we'd like you to start in the AFL. We'll pay you $2,000 a year as a referee. And the NFL called 2 weeks later and said, don't sign with the AFL. We want you to come in the NFL. I thought, I watched the All-America Conference fold up in the early 50s, and I thought, I better stay with the NFL. So I joined at $1,800 a year, $1,800 a year.
Wow.
For the season.
Yeah.
Then they paid transportation and expenses and things like that. But I enjoyed working. I was a field judge, and that was a good thing. Rather than being a referee, my first 6 years I was a field judge. I got to work with some of the great referees. And if people don't know the names of Bud Brubaker, Norm Schachter, Bill Downs, Ron Gibbs, they were great referees. I got to work. We didn't have crews in those days, Frank. I worked with all of them. It was nice to be able to join the invitation of the NFL, and being invited instead of applying was a real benefit for me.
Oh, absolutely. So what were those first games like? Pretty exciting, I'm guessing. And, you're on the field with all these really, I mean, in college, they're pretty big, but NFL, they're a little bit bigger, huh?
Well, my first year, I saw Rosie Greer, people like that, who are giant people. But more than that, when I walked on the field at LA Coliseum, I'd grown up in LA, in Los Angeles. I'd worked in the Coliseum, high school games and college games. I walked on the field for my first NFL game and met a fellow named George Hallis. Wow. Meeting George Hallis was like meeting Tom Edison. This is the guy who invented the game.
Right.
He said, and I was the field judge, so I had to get his captains of the Chicago Bears. They'd come out on the train, by the way, to play the Rams. And I went to Mr. Hallis, so my name is Jim. Said, yeah, Tunney, you went to Occidental College. You played football, basketball, and baseball. He knew me cold.
Wow.
Wow, this guy invents the game, and how's he know me, a little rookie? And he said, Jim, it's a tough game. He said, it'll be different for you, but if there's anything I can do to help you, let me know. Well, what you're trying to do is soften me up, so yeah. I would not call fouls against the Bears. So I had a tough call. It was the Rams and the Bears, and I had a tough call during the game. Blew the whistle if I shouldn't have. Quick whistle. We did it as we did in college. And so the next week I go up to San Francisco, and the Bears went on a train from LA up to San Francisco, play the 49ers. And I met him on the field. He said, "Now, Jim," I was calling Jim all. And Jim, he said, "It was a tough call last time. I said, but you're doing fine. You're doing fine. Keep it up. Good work. And let me know if I can help you anyway." So it was a great time to meet Mr. Hallis that way. I thought this is a wonderful, wonderful experience for me.
Who's the personality that just stands above the rest that you were on the field with, and as the referee, I'm guessing they're going to be kind of in awe of you at the same time.
Well, I don't know how in awe they were, but I worked on a lot of games with Coach Madden and the Raiders, and I always loved John. And John is a great guy. We had a good time on the field, and he would yell and scream at me, and John settled down. And he was like the first book I wrote I called Ode to a Teddy Bear. He used to bounce around all over the field and yelling and screaming, and didn't mean much. I mean, he wasn't trying to get to you. He just doing that. And Don Shula was terrific to work with. I had a great relationship with Coach Shula, as I did with Bill Walsh. Bill was a wonderful, wonderful man and an honest man. It was great to deal with people like Walsh or Landry or Shula, Madden. I worked, I think, Frank, I thought about with 300 NFL coaches over my lifetime.
Wow.
Head coaches. And they're terrific people. All of them. Guys I should never think would ever get up there. Even Jerry Glanville or Norm Van Brocklin, who are wild people on the sidelines. But if you treat them as a human being and listen to them and don't get upset about it, they're not yelling at you. They're yelling at that black and white striped uniform you've got on. Just treat them as human being. Let them yell. Let them understand you're running the game, and you're not going to change your mind. In fact, I said to Shula, Shula said before he passed away, he said we became good friends because he lived down here in the peninsula for a long time. He said, of all the arguments I never had with Tunney, I never won any of them. He always won the argument. Just listen to him. That's all.
And Madden made you the first official to be in the All Madden team as well, huh?
I was honored to that John put me on that All Madden team in about 1989. More than that, he called me in 2006 when he went in the Hall of Fame. He called me and said, "I'd like you to go to the Hall of Fame and be there when I'm inducted."
Wow.
John, wait, I'm a referee. What are you calling me for? He said, "You've been a good friend all these years." And so I drove to San Francisco, Oakland, and flew in that JetBlue with all the other 300 friends of his to Canton, Ohio, nonstop, Oakland Airport to Canton. And was there with John when he was inducted. He's just been a good guy all the time. Not having his physical challenges now, as we all do, but he's just a great friend. And I'm glad to see, by the way, incidentally, Tom Flores to go into the Hall of Fame this year.
You speak of Madden, and there's a guy that went to a head coaching job at a relatively young age, and sort of grew into the job, and and became a personality, and in some cases almost a caricature of himself when people would talk about the Maddenisms. But he was an incredible personality in addition to being a great coach.
I was honored to speak at his retirement program in Oakland. Milton Berle was the MC, and I was one of about 14 speakers, and a great program. He said, I coached all these years, 10 years, won the Super Bowl, but he said, I make one breakthrough for the fence with Miller Lite, and everybody knows me. And he just lost. He was kind of like that on the field, Frank. He was a real character, and he wasn't doing it to show off. It was just John Madden's personality, and so his personality just. When he got in the booth there with Summerall and things like that, and Monday Night Football, he was terrific. He knew the game so well. He knew the rules. Well, by the way, Art McNally, the supervisor, assigned me to do the rules talk for the Raiders, the 49ers, the Chargers, and the Seattle Seahawks, West Coast stuff. So every August, I go to camp and do the rules. And I was doing it a rules talk for the Raiders up in Tampa. At the time, I said something about a rule. He was standing outside because it was hot in the room. Outside, he poked his back. He said, "That's not right." He said, "That's incorrect." I said, "John, you got me. You're right. I should do this." He knew the rules. He was sharp enough to be aware. A good coach.
You've mentioned a couple of times speaking engagements. You were a motivational speaker as well. Tell me about that part of your career.
I was a high school principal, and then I moved to school superintendency in a place called Bellflower, California. And I was speaking to business groups and Rotary clubs and stuff like that. It kind of grew, and I got to develop a presentation where we're talking about how we become leaders and how we become a better leader. And I was on the field with some of the great leaders, with people like Landry and Shula and Walter and people like that. I studied that leadership. So I talked to groups about leadership. I did that for 40 years, from 1979 to 89. I was on doing that. I left the school business in 1979, and it was a great opportunity for me. Fortune 500 companies, businesses all over the country, all over the world, and I was just taking stuff that I did as a high school superintendent or principal, and as a referee, and become a leader. And on the field, as a referee, I was in charge of the game. It wasn't the coach, it was me. I was in charge of the game. I had to see the game played fairly and correctly and by the rules. And so I just took the things that I learned and shared them with other people. It was a great opportunity for me.
As you speak, it's interesting. What goes through my mind is that, our world tries to complicate things so much. And as a motivational speaker, you really were talking about simple concepts. It's be fair and right is right, and there's so much strength in those, but we try to get so intellectual about things. We want to find different ways to speak about them.
It's amazing how many organizations, businesses, Fortune 500 companies, bright people, CEOs want to know about football and what you do, how you do it. And they use the term first down, goal to goal, all expressions that we use in football are used in the business world all the time. And it's amazing how many of those people who are so bright are learning about the right way to do things. And Frank, it's not much different than I did with my family. I've got 4 kids, and teach them to do the right thing, be the right kind of person, and be civil about it. And so it's pretty much a lifestyle. I learned a lot from my father. My father was probably certainly my first mentor, my first role model, and he taught me a lot. And it was great to have the opportunity to go to school and do that with kids. And now that I became a principal, and I do that with teachers and help them, and superintendency and help principals. So it's kind of a lifestyle all the way. I enjoy doing that.
This segment is called "People Who Play the Game," and I want to get into the golf and your relationship there. But one more football question. What's the the pinnacle? What's the greatest memory you had in that football career?
I worked 500 NFL games. I think every Sunday afternoon it was exciting for me. But if I had to deal with one, it'd probably be Super Bowl 11, Minnesota Vikings, Oakland Raiders in the Pasadena Rose Bowl. I grew up in a little place called San Gabriel, California, about 4 miles from the Rose Bowl, and I'd go to the Rose Bowl. My dad refereed the Rose Bowl game in 1947 between Illinois with Buddy Young. You can go back and remember Buddy Young, and UCLA. And Buddy Young and Illinois beat UCLA that day. I was in that Rose Bowl game, January 1st, 1947. 30 years later to the month, January 1977, I get to work the first Super Bowl game ever we played in the Rose Bowl. The first one. And it was a great thrill to be there following my dad's footsteps, not thinking it ever happened. I was there watching his game. I was there to meet Jackie Robinson. I was there for lots of high school games. I worked there, championship games, and the Roll Bowl. Worked the junior Roll Bowl game 3 times, and then to do that was just that's probably one of the. When I walked on that field, I had tears in my eyes, and my heart was pumping pretty fast.
You're giving me chills. That sounds like it was meant to be, Jim.
I guess
Go ahead.
no, that's it. Yeah.
So at some point, somebody put a golf club in your hand the first time. Who did that, and what was that experience like?
His name is Mike Chapman at the Monterey Peninsula Country Club. I didn't start playing golf until I was 62.
Oh, wow.
You play golf when you're 6, not
Yeah.
62. And in fact, I talked to Jim Nance the other day, and his son Jameson is hitting the golf ball now at 4. First of all, my dad was a school teacher, as I say. We didn't have any money. We weren't poor. We just didn't have any money, and I didn't play golf. And I think he might have played golf once or twice, but I worked in the school building as a high school teacher or coach or principal or superintendent Monday through Friday. When do I play golf? Saturday or Sunday? No. Saturday I'm on an airplane. I'm flying to Green Bay or Baltimore or Detroit. So I'm working 7 days a week. I didn't have time to play golf. I didn't have time to play tennis. When I first stopped teaching, I was working for a business. I worked for Herb Alpert for 2 years as the director of his foundation. I started playing tennis. I played tennis for a long time. Still didn't play golf. Didn't play golf. I moved up here in 1980. But I was still working on the football field, so I worked on the football field until I was 62. So when I was 62, I quit and joined the Monterey Peninsula Country Club and started playing golf then. I played 20 years, maybe a little more, from 62 to about 88, and I gave up golf at 88. I didn't hit the ball very well, but I got to play lots of places. I did my speaking business was I did the MC for the Super Bowl of golf around the country, all over Maui and places. I got to travel lots of places. I got to play golf. I played golf one day. This was a highlight, I think. I played golf one day in Palm Springs at the invitation of John Brody. I was speaking for a company, and John Brody was the audience. He came to me, he said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I said, "I'm flying to Nashville to speak." I said, "Well," I said, "we need a 4th for golf." He said, "Who?" I said, "Who's playing?" He said, "Me, George Blanda, and John Unitas."
Oh my gosh.
I said, "Give me 15 minutes. I got to make a phone call." I went to the phone. I called American Airlines. I got a later flight into where I was going to speak. And I played golf with Brody, Blanda, and Unitas. I thought, you can't beat that. You can't make those things up. It was just incredible. So I played with Johnny Lou Jack, and I played one time. I played with so many great people over the years. Golf has been wonderful for me. Mike Chapman was my teacher. He was a golf pro at the Monterey Peninsula Country Club at the time. And we've been good friends ever since. But I've taken Jim Langley. I could take a couple, 3 lessons from Jim Langley. You know, Jim Langley and I go back to 1959.
Wow.
He was playing for the Bears. He was playing for Pete Newell. I was refereeing college basketball. I worked one game for those Bears that won the championship in 1960.
Wow.
So I met Jim Langley. It's been a wonderful opportunity to meet so many wonderful people from golf. I was never very good at it. I played Shula. Shula and I played a lot of times. He said, "You're the worst golfer I've ever played with." He liked to rib you. Shula tells a story. Anytime we met, Shula would say to the waitress, to anybody, "Now, you know who this is sitting right here?" Point to me. And the waitress said, "No." I said, "This is Jim Tunney. He's the 2nd best referee in the NFL." And the waitress would say, "Well, who's first?" And he'd say, "All the others were tied for first." He got a big kick out of that. It was a great story. Golfing has been wonderful. I mean, living in the Monterey area, well, you know, there's no place better to play golf than in the Monterey area.
And you and your wife, Linda, were huge supporters and probably still are of junior golf in the area as well.
Well, Linda was the junior golf executive director after we got married. I met her when she was with the American Lung Association. but for 25 years, she was executive director of the AT&T Pebble Beach Junior Golf Association. And of course, Jim Lang was part of that time, R.J. Harper, who you knew so very well. And so many great people were part of that junior golf program. And Linda ran that program for 25 years. She gave a scholarship for kids for 25 years for the junior golf program, 4 or 5 scholarships every year from the junior golf money that she raised. And of course, they would get to play Peter Hay, now called the Hay.
Yeah.
As you know, wonderful, wonderful thing that the Pebble Beach Company did, along with Tiger Woods, in building the new 3-par golf course called the Hay.
You know, I'm sitting here listening to you, tick off these names, and Hallis and Unitas and Jackie Robinson, and I'm thinking, what a blessed life you've had, and I'm also thinking, in what world, am I friends with Jim Tunney and he's met all these other people? I mean, that's what's it's golf that brought us together, and that's one of the things I just find so fascinating about the game, that for the most part, they're all really good people, and 4 hours on the golf course is just it's an experience that if you've never played, there's no description for it. There's no way for anybody that has never played golf to understand what it's like to spend 4 hours with someone on a golf course.
As you said that, and people said that through many times, you want to get to know somebody really well, play golf with them for 4 hours, and you'll learn all about their character, their integrity, the whole thing about it, how they treat people, how they handle failure, how they handle success. It's just a wonderful, wonderful game to teach. And that's why Linda was so successful in it, because she taught the little kids the 9 things of respect and courtesy, and just knowing the things of golf. They have a little argument now with Kepra and DeChambeau about attitude and things like that. That's happened before. Nicklaus and Palmer didn't get along very well
Exactly.
either. But they all go down as icons now. And the DeChambeau thing will settle down. Now, those things will happen. And it's a frustrating game. It's, you and I did make our living playing golf, and I don't think I'd ever want to try to make my living playing golf. It's not much getting money from being a school teacher or a referee, but playing golf is, and Ken Ventura was a good friend, and Ken every day he'd go to the golf course and hit balls. I couldn't do that. I got other things to do. I mean, I'm diverse enough to do. Kenny just hit the ball every day, and that's what the golfers do. They have a bad round, and they finish 25th in a tournament, or 52nd in a tournament. Where the next Monday they're on the golf course hitting golf balls. In fact, they're hitting golf balls that afternoon when they finish the 4 rounds of golf for a tournament. It's incredible to do that. My mentality is not I can do that.
Jim, with all your career, your family, the education portion, certainly the officiating, what makes you most proud?
I think I'm most proud of the fact that Linda and I were married for 25 years, but we had no children. The children I had from my first wife was all 4 of my children are doing well. They've never been in jail. They've never been arrested. They're good citizens. They contribute to their community. They contribute to their family. I think the fact that they grew up, I met a lot of great people. I mean, I had an opportunity to meet Frank Sinatra one time. How many people do you talk to that have met and talked to Frank Sinatra? And it was a chance meeting, a chance occasion. He knew more about me than George Hallis did than I knew about Frank. He was just, well, how you doing? Watch you on television and always watch your games and that sort of thing. It's lucky. I'd say fortunate. I think that I don't think it's luck. I think it's just good fortune. I think you were there the night Don Lucas on the airport. Don said, "It's not luck. Luck is when you scratch the numbers off of a lottery ticket." But good fortune, and to live here in this Pebble Beach area for 40 years. I got guys that I just wonder how I do it. And I said, I think I just shuffle the cards around. I don't know. I get to pay the bills at the first of the month, and after that, I just hope the next month goes okay.
We will all have our memories and moments with you. How would you like to be remembered?
I think of somebody who is you can trust, that you're honest, that you believe that if he told you something, he was showing you what he believed. He believed that to be the truth. It might not be the truth, but he believed it to be the truth. Political spectrum, he might take one candidate over the other, but it's not because he believes in that person, individual. But somebody that you can rely on, that when you ask him to do something, or he says he'll do it, he'll do it. You don't have to worry about checking up on him because you know he's going to do it. Dependable, trustworthy, things like that. Boy Scout model. I can recount the Boy Scout model because I was a Boy Scout, and just say that's the kind of person I like to be. As somebody said, I'd like to be the kind of person my dog thinks I am. That might be the best description of the individual ever. And I don't have a dog.
Remarkable, Jim. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed the moments that we've just had just a little time to say hi and kind of catch up. You are a remarkable human being, and you have given so much to so many over the years, and we all very much appreciate not only what you've done, but we appreciate who you are. Jim Tunney, a person who plays the game. Thank you so much for being with me.
Frank, it's a pleasure. Always is to be with you. Look forward to the next time we can be together.
I look forward to it as well.
Thank you.